Good morning. Wow, I've been out of town the last 2 weeks, so I have been watching Sunday school on streaming, and on streaming it doesn't show how many people are here, so yay, it's great to see you all. We are excited about having this opportunity to talk about the Justice Committee. Last Sunday was Justice Sunday, and our plan was to be able to spend some time at lunch with you all talking about the committee itself. Well, thank you, COVID, that didn't happen. So we are most grateful that this was already scheduled as an opportunity to introduce you to a justice issue that we're interested in your knowing about and giving us feedback and input on. But I want to spend a few minutes before we get into that to tell you a little bit about the Justice Committee because it is new. You will probably remember that when the ACT Council was formed, one of the outcomes that was specified for the ACT Council was to establish a Justice Committee that would allow Broadway to have a structure for responding to current justice issues. That was the first accomplishment of the ACT Council, and it is now a part of our standing committee structure. That means that it has 9 committee members on regularly rotating terms. So if you're interested in this, be sure that the Committee on Committee knows and get your name in the loop for the future. I want to let you know who is serving on the committee now, and if you're here, raise your hand so people will see you. Catherine Godby is our chair, and we are grateful for the wonderful work she is doing. Lydia Bean, who's over there, Josh Lucas, Bob Medea, Chris McLeod, Susanna McDaniel, Christopher Schlachter, Elise Walker, myself, Harriet Harrell, and Ryan as our staff liaison. You have a handout on your table that tells you a little bit about the committee, and you'll see on there that the mission of the Justice Committee is to encourage and empower the church's role in the making of a more just, equitable, and peaceful community and world. Good mission, right? And maybe a bit ambitious for a 9-member committee. So I want to stress that part about encouraging and empowering the church, because the work that we do is not just the committee's work, it is Broadway's work and even beyond that. And that's one reason we're so glad to be here today, to help you know a little bit more about what we do and why, and to find your place in partnering with us on justice issues that call out to you, and for us all to be able to respond from a faith perspective. Broadway really has a wonderful history of addressing injustices through direct mission and ministry efforts. The community center, the May Street Market, the clothing closet, lunches, Agape Meal, all are ways that we help people who are experiencing inequities. Our global mission offering supports refugees in Fort Worth, as well as internationally with Bishop Songulashvili and the Peace Cathedral in the Republic of Georgia. And I could keep on naming some of the direct local and global ministries that Broadway is involved in. What's somewhat different about this committee is its focus. Instead of focusing our efforts on the people experiencing injustices, we are focusing on the systems that can change or eliminate the causes of injustice and inequity. For example, it's wonderful to minister to homeless people, and that's something we will always do. It's also wonderful to participate in the systems that can reduce or eliminate homelessness by actually housing homeless people. Systemic work means impacting decision-making and budget allocation processes. That may sound a little secular or political, but it is exactly what Jesus modeled for us in his ministry. Speaking truth to power, advocating for God's children, especially the least among us, is faith-based work. So I want to tell you a little bit about how we've been carrying that out. The first thing that faced us after the committee was formed was the trial of Derek Chauvin, the officer accused of the murder of George Floyd. You'll remember there was a lot of concern about what reaction might happen as a result of the decision of that trial. And so we wrote 2 responses, one in case of a guilty verdict, one in case of a non-guilty verdict, in an effort for Broadway to help people process whichever one of those verdicts and to choose a productive way to respond. And that letter, the one that came with the guilty verdict, is on the website. The next issue that seemed critical for us to address was the serious concern over suppression of voting rights as in proposed legislation in both the House and Senate of the Texas legislature. We studied the issue, its potential outcomes, met with experts, and formulated nonpartisan, factual information to use in communicating with elected representatives. We worked hard, and a number of you helped, to contact all our representatives and explain our faith-based commitment to full respect and participation of all citizens in the voting process. We believed strongly in the information we shared, but we were not successful, and so we now are facing barriers to full access that we will need to continue to face in the future. Next, the Tarrant County Homeless Coalition contacted us this spring to alert us to the amazing opportunity to positively impact our homeless neighbors because of the money coming to the city and the county from the American Rescue Plan Act. They asked for our support for a proposal to the city and county to essentially house all of the chronically homeless people in Fort Worth and to significantly add deeply affordable housing. Many of you helped and wrote and emailed city and county city council members and county commissioners and attended meetings of those groups with us. To date, the city and the county have allocated $52 million. That is a transformative amount of money that will, in fact, allow us to end chronic homelessness in Fort Worth. We are overwhelmed with that opportunity, and there's still the possibility of another, could be up to 18 million, we don't expect that much, for deeply affordable housing. Broadway was recognized more than once as playing a significant role in that effort, and we're grateful for those of you who supported it. And now, we are studying a new justice issue that was brought to us by the Texas Jail Project. We are delighted to have this opportunity to bring you into this discussion at the very beginning as we are determining how to best proceed. And so I'm delighted to introduce you to Tamara Hutchison, who is the North Texas Community Organizer with the Texas Jail Project, to explain the injustices that they are finding in the jail system that inmates are facing. When she finishes her presentation, there'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions, and we hope that you will do that. And then there will be time that you can discuss at the tables, exploring the role that you think the committee, the church, and you yourself might take in response to what we learned from Tamara. Tamara, we're grateful that you are here, and we look forward to learning from you.
one work? Okay. Wait, can y'all hear me through it or no? Yeah.
None of them are on.
I need to be able to see the slides, yeah. All right, no. Hello?
They're both unmuted, but neither of them are working.
You can see the slides from there, and then I'll try to get this mic.
Okay, I just usually read off of them, that's why,
okay.
so it's gonna be
that
more
may be a little
helpful.
difficult, yes.
Yeah, okay. Are those the ones? Oh, there's a couple other new ones on there. No,
She's talking about this.
all right, I'll try to do my best. Okay.
I think she's.
All right, well, thank you everyone for having me. My name's Tamara Hutcherson. My pronouns are she, they. I'm the North Texas Community Organizer with Texas Jail Project. And so, yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Slide. Okay, that's a little hard for me to read. Okay, so yeah, Texas Jail Project, we're a nonprofit organization that advocates for and with incarcerated people in Texas County Jail. So we're statewide, but I'm local to here, Tarrant County. We refer to them as incarcerated people because we feel like using the term inmate dehumanizes them and takes away their respect, dignity, and humanity. So we refer to them as community members or incarcerated people. And we end up handling a lot of issues around inhumane treatment, medical neglect, and really just documenting stories of what's going on in county jails across the state of Texas. And so there are a couple key issues that we focus on. We focus on mental illness and disability rights. So a lot of times we end up taking on a lot of casework by people that have severe mental illness or intellectual or developmental disabilities that essentially have been criminalized for that. And you'd be surprised to know that a lot of county jails are the #1 confiners of people with mental illness. We also deal with a lot of issues around pretrial policy. And what I mean by pretrial policy, I mean that most people in our county jails are pretrial detention, meaning they are legally innocent. Does this one work? Oh, awesome, okay. Meaning they are legally innocent until proven guilty. So they have not been found guilty of a crime yet. And so we end up handling a lot at the state level and locally to really minimize incarceration for people that really should not be in there. We also handle pregnancy crisis in county jails. So we have done a lot of work at the state legislature around trying to pass policies to protect pregnant persons in county jails, specifically around prenatal care and trying to minimize the use of restraints on pregnant persons. And I'll touch on a really traumatic story that happened here in Tarrant County Jail in 2020. We also do work around custody deaths. So we document custody deaths in Tarrant County jails and really try to assist families to connect them to resources if they do reach out to us and they have had a loved one that has passed away in jail, oftentimes due to medical neglect. We also deal with issues around court-appointed attorneys. So a lot of times, most people that reach out to us are have come from a low socioeconomic background. And so they've been appointed a court-appointed attorney, and they have a lot of issues getting in contact with them, so we'll intervene in those cases. And we also do a lot of work around veterans as well. Slide. So where we help people, jail conditions. I don't know if y'all have heard of the Texas Commission on Jail Standards, but they document and complaints that people send to them on if they feel like their rights are being violated, because all Texas county jails are supposed to uphold minimum jail standards because it is written in our law. And so if a county jail, if somebody suspects a county jail might be in violation of those minimum standards, someone can file a complaint. And usually county jails are susceptible to annual jail inspections. Again, I talked on court-appointed attorney intervention. If somebody feels like they are having trouble getting in contact with their court-appointed attorney, usually we'll connect them with the State Bar Grievance Program. Medical neglect, we'll file complaints on people's behalf if they are experiencing medical neglect. I'll also provide some examples of that. And LMHA and the LITA. There's going to be a lot of acronyms throughout this presentation, so please bear with me. These slides will be shared with you. So LMHA, that's the Local Mental Health Authority here in Tarrant County. That is MHMR Tarrant. And a lot of times people get disconnected from health services and mental health services, so we help to reconnect folks with their local mental health or their IDD services, and we also do try to hold local mental health authorities accountable because a lot of times they do drop the ball. In terms of excessive use of force, if somebody comes to us and they're complaining or they have a complaint about excessive use of force has happened to them, oftentimes we will connect them with the Texas Rangers and the FBI to file a complaint on their behalf. And in terms of disability rights, if somebody feels like their rights are being violated, we'll connect them with the Department of Justice and the Disability Rights Texas. Slide. So some key facts. So pretrial detention, I touched on that already. But here's something that's very interesting. The United States and the Philippines are the only two countries in the world that have a for-profit cash bail system. So what do I mean by that? Private bail bond companies extract millions of dollars of wealth from poor families suffering every year. And so let's say if somebody has a bond of $5,000 and they can't pay it, they're going to stay in the county jail on pretrial detention until their court date. And if they choose to go to trial, they'll oftentimes stay longer. So a lot of times these people are coerced into taking a plea deal even if they are not guilty of that crime. And also county jail issues are disability rights issues. The majority of people, like I said, that are arrested in county jails do have a disability or a mental illness, or also have severe medical conditions or pre-existing conditions such as epilepsy, high blood pressure, diabetes, etc. And also county jail issues are family issues. A lot of times this entails family separation. I can't tell you how many times I have talked to women incarcerated in Tarrant County Jail that have been separated from their children and that they want to be reunited with their children, but they can't be because they're pretrial detention and they can't make bail. Slide. So this is our report card we made for this year. And these are just a couple facts about Tarrant County Jail. It should not say 39, I haven't updated that yet, but at least 40 dead since actually 2018. So yes, there have been 40 deaths in Tarrant County Jail since 2018. I want you to ponder on that. On average, about 2,200 people in Tarrant County Jail are pretrial, and it costs about $85 a day per person to house somebody. Or I'm not gonna say house, confine someone in Tarrant County Jail. So that's at least a little over $31,000 per person a year to confine them. Tarrant County spends an average of about $10.6 million per month since 2019 on confinement alone, compared to $10 million per year on community services. And then on average, this is not, this actually needs to be updated too. That percentage is higher. It's about over 50% of the Tarrant County Jail population has a mental illness, over 50%. And I actually got that from the chief deputy administrator from the sheriff's department. And so since 2019, 3 people have committed suicide. It's actually 4, because last month somebody committed suicide by strangulation. 138 attempted suicide, and 431 were assaulted. Let's see. Also, in 2020, Tarrant County Jail lost its certification to operate as a jail for 6 days. And we've had over 185 complaints since 2021 of neglect or abuse reported to us out of Tarrant County Jail. And this young lady here, Kelly Maston, in May of this year, this woman, who's a 38-year-old woman who has a rare form of epilepsy, which means she's had it since she was 2 years old. She has very limited cognitive abilities of the age about 5 to 6 years old. And this woman, her grandmother, who she lives with, ended up calling 911 because she felt her granddaughter needed medical attention. Fort Worth PD was dispatched, and instead of taking her to the hospital, she was taken to the county jail, where she was confined there for 10 days and experienced severe medical neglect, where she seized daily, ended up in a medically induced coma at JPS Hospital. I'm happy to report that I actually got to see Kelly Maston last month. She was released from the hospital. She's doing better, but they still have yet to know what the full effects of being so long in a coma has done to her brain. And right now her family is fighting because this should have never happened, and she should have never been confined in Tarrant County Jail. Slide. So I'm going to give you kind of a timeline. We're almost done. I know that I'm throwing a lot of information at you, and I'm sure you have many questions. And I probably should have issued a trigger warning before diving deep into this, because this is very serious and can be very triggering things to hear. So in 2019, and these are just a few people to name out of the many people that have died in Tarrant County Jail. Robert Miller, an unhoused man with mental illness and sickle cell disease, died after an instance of excessive use of force. His wife was never notified of his death, and his wife today is still fighting to find out the details of his death. 2020, again, Tarrant County Jail lost its certification for 6 days after failing observation checks on Dean Stewart, a man with mental illness who committed suicide. Chastity, a woman with an intellectual developmental disability and mental illness, gave birth in her cell unattended, and her baby died 10 days later. Javante Myers, a man with a seizure disorder, died in his cell lying there for 6 hours after jailers failed observation checks. 2021, Cedric Till, a man with serious mental illness, was arrested during mental health crisis and contracted COVID in the jail and died. Timothy Razor, a man with mental illness and substance abuse, died, and his wife has yet to receive information on the details of his death. And then also in 2021, Tarrant County Jail failed their annual inspection with the Texas Commission on Jail Standards. And then, as I mentioned in the previous slide, in 2022, Kelly Maston, a woman with a rare form of epilepsy and a developmental disability, was hospitalized in a coma after being confined for 10 days in the jail and suffering routine neglect. Slide. Oh, okay. So some quick jail facts about Tarrant County Jail. As of last month, May 2022, they currently have, and you can actually find these facts on the Texas Commission on Jail Standards website. They do track the populations of every Texas county jail in the state. 26 pregnant persons. They have over 2,300 pretrial out of 41,199 jail population, so about 55% of their population is pretrial detention. For the approved fiscal year 2022 county budget, $100 million spent on confinement compared to $10 million on Community services, 40 in custody deaths, and 76% have occurred since 2020, with majority being pretrial. 4 have been due to suicide. I didn't update that. 9 due to COVID, 17 due to natural causes. So natural causes, that could be high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, kidney failure, seizure disorder, heart failure. But I do want to point out, even though it says due to natural causes, jail is not a natural environment. And oftentimes these people are experiencing medical neglect. And so they're not getting the proper nutrition, the proper medication, or medical care that possibly could have prevented them from dying. And I will say this, when I did meet with the county judge and the county commissioner, the comment I received is that, well, these people already come in severely sick, so by the time they get to the jail, there's nothing else we can do. I disagree. I think that there are a lot that can be done with the county jail, also partnering with our county hospital and our local mental health authority to prevent these things from happening. And there has been a higher rate of jail custody deaths compared to Dallas County Jail, which has a higher jail population. I just want to point that out. So Dallas County has a higher jail population, yet we have a higher number of jail deaths and a lower jail population. Slide. So how Broadway Baptist can help. And again, I'm sure you have many questions once I get done here. What you can do to help us. Advocate to county leaders to implement urgent humanitarian reforms. Sign up for in-person public comment at the county commissioner's court. Destigmatize mental illness and disabilities in our own communities and networks. And consider candidates' positions on criminal legal issues, jail spending, cash bail when voting. As you know, we are coming up on midterm elections, and there are 2 really important races I'd like you to pay attention to: the district attorney race and the county judge race. I say that because those are very important roles that also could really influence changing county jail issues here in Tarrant County. Slide. So how you can take action. Review the action toolkit we actually created for you for guided outreach to county leaders via letter, email, phone, or in-person testimony. And so the action toolkit link is there in the slides, but I think also there are printouts as well. Okay, but you could also, again, awesome, thank you. And again, follow November elections and talk to your friends and family about the issues. Okay, slide please, thank you. So these are a couple additional links. In May of this year, we ended up doing a call to action in response to Kelly Maston and also other of our community members that have lost their lives in Tarrant County Jail. And so we partnered with other local organizations and also statewide organizations to do a call to action here in Tarrant County. And so we ended up creating a demand letter and another toolkit. So if you wanted some additional information, I also provided those if you just wanted to look at them and read through them. Right, slide. So essential reading. You don't have to read all these, but it's recommended. These are several articles. So some people I mentioned today, there have been a few articles on them with the Fort Worth Star-Telegram or Fort Worth Weekly. And Fort Worth Weekly and the Fort Worth Star-Telegram have also reached out to us to gain further information on these issues. And so, again, if you'd like to read them, I think they're really great reading material to get a better understanding of the issue. Right. Slide. And so contact information. The main person of contact, if you do have further information, would actually be my colleague, Gabriella. That's her phone number and her email. And then also my executive director, Krish, that's her email. You're probably wondering why my contact information isn't on there, because I will unfortunately be with Texas Jail Project for only 2 more weeks. So those will be the people that are your point of contact. Yeah. And I think that's it. Yeah, all right. Well, thank you.
Tamara has offered to answer questions. And I'm going to ask Lydia to come up as well. You all know Lydia Bean. She is the founder of Texas Faith in Texas, and has a lot of experience with bail issues and has worked from a faith perspective. And I thought she might be able to reflect along with Tamara on this. So who has a question that you would like to ask? Over here. I'm not sure it's working.
Thanks for your presentation. I was wondering, for those who might be interested, if in 30 words or less, you could explain the pretrial detention and bail process in Texas. And I believe it's largely driven by state law, but that would be interesting perhaps for people to know, because it's a big problem.
So, in the state of Texas, the district attorney and the judge, the district attorney will make a charge, and the person is held, and then the judge will set bail, and then the person has to come up with the money, right? So it's set based on perceived risk or the crime. Sometimes it's based on stereotypes or racial discrimination too, and it might be, $5,000, it might be $1 million. And so most people, unless you have, $500,000 or whatever the bail is, just in a bank account somewhere, they have to go to a bail bondsman. And the bail bondsman, you put up a down payment, and then they put up the full amount, and then you pay interest. If you skip bail, if you don't show up for your hearing, they keep your deposit, they keep the money. And then they basically, and if you are actually released, that money is refunded. But the bail bondsman keeps their cut, right? So it's some way, it's like you're taking on a kind of a payday loan to get your loved one out of jail. What this means is the people who stay in jail, right, more than one night or more than the time it takes for them to call their attorney, it's because they're poor, or they don't have any family members who can show up and work with the bail bondsman to pay the down payment to get bail. So the people in jail, you might think if we lived in a just world, it'd be because they were particularly dangerous or they've done something very, very serious. But the fact is, when you go, I know this because Faith in Texas goes and does bailouts, and we go and visit with people in the jail and bail people out who are very poor. They're there because maybe they're unhoused, they don't have family members, or their family members are also very poor. And so that's who ends up staying in the jail for long, long periods of time, because we have this cash bail system. Other countries don't use cash bail. They just say, look, they assess your flight risk and the seriousness of what you're charged with. And if you're considered dangerous to release to the public, it doesn't matter how wealthy you are. And likewise, if what you've done is rather minor and you're not considered a flight risk, they'll release you. You being able to pay money to a bondsman does not change the overall assessment of risk. So that's the situation right now in Texas. We basically have a pay-to-play system where if you're wealthy, you don't spend time in jail. If you're poor, you can spend months and months in jail while you're awaiting trial.
And
So you're totally right. It's kind of difficult because when you're in that cell, you've got 50 other people there, and on the wall is a dozen bail bondsmen, and it's you make it sound easy, but it's not, and it's a total scam. And you're totally spot on, and that goes on every day, every minute, night and day over there. So, And, and thank you for your presentation. I know you focused on mental illness, and I think that's true, but I think there's a deeper cause, and that's, from my opinion, and that is because, the justice system at the town or the Fort Worth and even at the federal level, it's totally broken. In this county, you are presumed guilty until proven innocent, and that is so true. And there are children, when I say children, I mean, kids up there that are my children's age, and they just sit there for days until they can post bail or until someone can bail them out. And it's a total, it's not corrupt, but that system is broken. And, 2 bologna sandwiches in a period of 24 hours doesn't cut it. And those are not humane conditions whatsoever. So, totally spot on. But I think, it's more than just mental illness. There are people, there are young people there from our community, and you ask yourself, why are they there at 18 or 19? Why have they been there 2 or 3 times? And I think that's really the impactful question that we need to contemplate. That's really the impactful question that we need to contemplate and ask ourselves. So, thank you.
Yeah. I want us to have time to talk at the tables. Is there one other question, Alan?
Well, I just wanted to point out that one of the reasons that we incarcerate people pre-trial is to put, as it was pointed out, was to put pressure on them. Because a lot of these folks, the fact issues surrounding their case are pretty murky and ambiguous in many cases. And if they're in the free world, they may want to fight it. But if they're locked up and you can cut them a plea bargain, they're going to take it just because that seems to be the only way out. And this doesn't work for people like us, like most people in the room here. But if you're indigent, it really puts tremendous pressure on the person. And I think that's probably why the United States is somewhat singular in this respect. It is a way of clearing dockets and moving the system along. And so I just wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, thank you. There is so much more we could talk about. Tamara, thank you. We do want you to have a chance to talk at the tables, and I think if you have a question that you want Tamara or Lydia to respond to, wave your hands frantically and they'll come and see. Ryan, were we able to get copies of those questions, or do I need to just read them?
We did, but we changed the slideshow, so we'll need to verbalize those questions now.
Oh, okay. Okay, we had a slide, but here's what we want you to talk about. First of all, if any of you have personal experience with the jail, either from a professional perspective or if you or a family member or friend have been incarcerated or connected in some way and you're willing to share that, we would be interested in hearing what you have learned from that experience to help us approach this issue. We have given you a contact form. It's also on the QR card on your table. And certainly if you have that kind of experience and would like to share it in more depth with the committee, please let us know that. But at your tables, you might talk about that a bit. Secondly, what has been the impact of what you've learned this morning on you? And third, in order to work toward greater justice in the Tarrant County jails, what do you see as the role of our church, the Justice Committee, and yourself? Okay? So if there's someone who wants to share some experience from the jail, that. Secondly, the overall impact of this information on you. And third, the role that you think the church, the Justice Committee, or you yourself might play. Okay? Please talk, and we'll give you a chance to come back together at the very end. Before you get too involved, I have one quick thing that I forgot to say because I know some choir members are going to need to be leaving. Please do fill out those contact information forms and leave them on the table for us because we're very eager to build our capacity to act through you all. So those of you who are interested in helping in whatever way that might be, we would really appreciate it. It will also give us the opportunity to send you the toolkits that Tamara was talking about electronically so that you have access to them. How long do we have to discuss? 10 minutes.